Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session we are going to see current affairs of 26th August 2025. So let's get started with our discussion. And before getting started, I want to make a small announcement. We in our academy, we are going to start new batch for prelims cum mains foundation course from 29th of this August, guys. And actually we are providing utmost quality education in our institute, and here we are having like special features, like we are going to complete this course in 10 months and entire syllabus will be covered here, and the faculty or expert faculty from Bangalore and as well as Delhi based faculty, and there will be daily answer writing practice from the day one, and we do provide current affairs classes on everyday basis along with current affairs monthly magazines as well, and we provide GS material, so you'll be getting A to Z solution for your UPSC preparation if you join here. And don't miss this opportunity, guys, and we are providing both on online and offline. And if you have any queries regarding this course, you can contact us on this number 8074765513. And if you want to visit academy and if you want to talk to me directly, you can visit our academy, which is located in Ashok Nagar, Hyderabad, exactly above Vikas Book Center, second and third floor, guys. And now let us see the first article. See the title, guys. Title says Supreme Court asks Union government to draw up rules on social media conduct. So actually this article is talking about two important things. First one is about Supreme Court and its role, and second important keyword is social media conduct. Okay, now let us see what this article is about. So everyone knows about this social media, right? For example, we are using YouTube, or we are using Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, X, that is Twitter, whatever it may be. So actually what is happening in the social media is we are using the social media for multiple purpose. So what are the multiple purpose things that we are using for? For example, we are using for trade, that is nothing but we are using for business purpose. We are using for entertainment purpose. We are using it for gaining of popularity overnight. So whatever it may be. So whenever we are using this commercial content for entertainment or for trade, so that is also leading to the violation of certain rights of the people. That is Article 19(1) subclass A. So what is Article 19(1) subclass A talks about? Right to freedom of speech and expression. So actually they are crossing their limits. So because of this, it is violated this Article 19(1) subclass A, and even sometimes they will do comments. So because of that comments, it is affecting Article 21. What is Article 21? Article 21 talks about right to life and personal liberty. So whenever they are making any vulgarous comments, especially on this women, children, people with disabilities, senior citizens, it is affecting their fundamental rights. So because of this, now what Supreme Court said is, Supreme Court asked now central government to come up with the rules. So rules to control this social media. So actually we have certain rules called as IT rules. There is information technology rules, but it is not sufficient for addressing of this present challenges. So when we came up with this IT rules, in which year? 2000? Not 5. IT rules in which year? So we have information technology rules of 2000. So now we are in 2005. Sorry, 2025. So here, because of this, the new challenges that we are getting and new problems that we are getting, that act which is not addressing properly. So because of this, we need to have the updation of acts. So because of this, Supreme Court gave directions for the central government to ensure proper rules for social media conduct. Conduct is nothing but how they have to use the social media without violating this rights of other people. Okay, now let us see clearly here. The Supreme Court of India directed Union government to formulate comprehensive guidelines for regulating content on social media platforms. So actually nowadays social media is also used for recruiting of terrorists, yes or no? And even we are using the social media for different purpose. And because of this social media, some people are getting popularized overnight also. So because of this, we need to have a proper guidelines, like how we have to use this social media, what are the do's and don'ts. And this article is saying that Supreme Court pushed for the guidelines for, because of this there is a misuse of freedom of expression on the social media, especially people are focusing on this commercial content. Because of this commercial content, which mainly prioritizes entertainment or profit, they'll not focus on the dignity and sensitivity of the people. And this one here is court also clarified that Article 19(1) subclass A of the Indian Constitution, which talks about right to freedom of speech and expression, are these fundamental rights absolute? No, there are certain reasonable restrictions can be imposed on this fundamental rights, right? So which article talks about these reasonable restrictions? Article 19 subclass 2. Okay, so here this article is saying that this article 19(1)A, which does not protect this commercial speech or prohibited speech. And actually, whenever any podcaster or whenever any influencer, whenever they are keeping any content, that will be having impact on the vulnerable peoples of the society. So because of this, what happens? We have to protect these vulnerable groups. Okay, so who are these vulnerable groups? Like women, children, people with disabilities, senior citizens, everyone. Okay, and this one here is, sorry, it is 2021. Okay, so actually we came up in this 2000 IT rules, but even we came up with the amendment for that in 2021. And even we have cable television rules of 1994. See here, whatever the media that we are using like televisions, the rule which is guiding them is came up in year 1994. Now we are in 2025. So here we need a lot of updation regarding this TV serials content or any podcast content or any programs which are published in our TVs and even serials. So for everything we need to have some updation. So that is the thing which mainly said here. And here, what is the impact of the Supreme Court guidelines? So first one here is influence. They may face stricter scrutiny now. So if they have to post any information, so they need to follow rules and regulations, guidelines of this central government now. And next one is, even there is a requirement of apology. If they are posting any content which is hurting certain sentiments of the people, they have to give the apology. And next one is, there are penalties, and even government should focus on awareness raising platforms also. And this one here is commercial speech restrictions that will affect monetization. Normally in YouTube, if you're posting any video, so if you're reaching certain things like certain specifications, then you will be getting even money from this YouTube. You can earn money. And not only this, if you are doing any commerce, that is nothing but business on these platforms, obviously you can gain the money, right? So here, especially now YouTube has to enforce stricter policies for posting of any content. And next one is new guidelines. They could mandate better content moderation and even age gating. That means which age people can watch that video. So if you see some videos, so they'll give a disclaimer that only 18 plus years they have to watch this kind of content, right? So here in this way, here if you're having the strict guidelines, we can go for proper age gating as well. And even there will be like mechanisms for the punishing of offensive material as well. And this one is, we can have a balancing act to curb the harm, and even we can have the positive societal outcomes. Because of this reducing of hate speech, because of this we can increase solidarity in society, unity in society, everything. And now let us see the next article. See the title: AP government draws up plans to set up greenfield airports. So in AP state, they are going to come up with new airports in certain areas. For example, they are going to come up in Srikakulam, Bogapuram, Tuni Annavaram, Tadepalligudam, Ongole, Dagadatri, Kuppam, Nagarjun Sagar. So in these areas, they are going to come up with this greenfield airports. So the word that you have to focus is greenfield here. So especially in your economy, which comes under your GS paper 3, you will be studying about this chapter called as infrastructure. So whenever you are focusing on this infrastructure, we have two types of projects. So first type here is greenfield project, and second type is brownfield project. So here greenfield is nothing but nothing is there. So from land we have to go for development of that project, that everything is new, that is called as greenfield. And brownfield is already we have a project which is there on that area, but we want to go for renovation, or else we have to go for extension of this facility, then that is called as brownfield. So greenfield is nothing but entirely new. Brownfield is nothing but some, we can call it as second hand. It is first hand, it is second hand. So when we want to go for renovation of our house, or when we want to go for extension of our house, that is called as brownfield. So actually these greenfield and brownfield, they have their own advantages and as well as disadvantages. So what are these advantages of this greenfield? So whenever we are constructing anything, so now we always want advanced technology. If we want to build a house here, can we build this house of 1980s or 1970s models as our grandparents had? No, right? So we want to build in this new technology, new advancement with lift facility and with advanced bathrooms, with tiles, with flooring, whatever it may be. So we want to focus on this new technology. So if you're building any new project, the important advantage here is we can get modern technology. And one more advantage here is nowadays we are focusing on this privacy and as well as we are focusing on more safety and security. So that elements can be incorporated here. So we can focus on more safety and security and we can give priority for this privacy also. But if you see in this case of brownfield, what are the advantages? Already we had certain base and on that base we want to go for renovation, we are going to expand that. That means is that time taking process? No. So it is less time taking. And even cost, when we compare to this greenfield, brownfield cost will be obviously less. So these are the advantages. And what are the disadvantages of this greenfield? It is costly. And next one is it is also time taking process. And here what are the disadvantages of this brownfield? So now here we are not going to focus much on the safety and as well as we will be not having that much upgraded modern technology. So in that way each and everything have its own advantages and benefits guys. Okay, now let us see this article. So now here AP government wants to come up with this greenfield airports in many areas. So what is a greenfield? Greenfield project refers to a project that is built on underdeveloped land or a site. From the land onwards we will be going to construct that. And there is no existing infrastructure prior. Okay, and we are going to start everything new. That is called as greenfield. And what are the advantages? The first one is we can adopt modern technologies or modern practices. So we can have some cutting edge technologies like AI, robotics, IoT, and that is the thing that we can use. And next one is we can prioritize on safety. And next one, what are the drawbacks? We need more investment. That is nothing but more costly, more funds we required. And next one here is for taking of permissions. It is not that much easy to get the clearances from different departments. Again, it will be like time consuming projects. And even sometimes after starting it also, we'll get some challenges like lack of logistics, lack of proper transportation, environmental issues, land acquisition problems, everything. And what about this brownfield? Brownfield projects involves repurposing or enlarging already existing structures or infrastructure. So advantages are nothing but they are cost less effective. That is nothing but like we have like already existing infrastructure, so we have to spend a little amount of money. And next one is we can reduce upfront cost and even it will be like budget friendly. And next one here is already we get certain data regarding that infrastructure, like where we have which lanes, like current lanes or electricity lanes, or where this drainage system is there, where the storage capacity. So we know all those things. Like based on that we'll go for redesigning our next extension part, so that like it will be providing you the informed decisions and even we'll be having smoother operation. So there is no need of taking further more permission for the extension of that. We'll be having like less time taking count, like when we are comparing with this greenfield, and even we can implement it very fast. Okay, and see this article guys. India Fiji call for open Indo-Pacific region, agree to deepen defense ties. So this article is talking about relationship between India and Fiji. So from which subject it is important? When we are talking about two countries in news, it is important from your international relations, which comes under GS paper 2. And we are talking about what is the thing? We are going to improve defense ties. And this one is we are going to call for open Indo-Pacific region. So to understand this title, first of all, you have to know where this Fiji is. Where is this Fiji located? Any idea? So I'll show you the map. So this is a map of Fiji. So here we have Australia. This part is Australia, and here Papua New Guinea, and this part is nothing but your Oceania, Micronesia, Melanesia, and Polynesia region. And here we have this part is Fiji, and the capital of this Fiji is Suva, and it is exactly above this New Zealand, and it is located in which ocean? Pacific Ocean. So here, because of this island which is located in this Pacific Ocean, we need to get cooperation with these islands located in this Pacific Ocean to improve India's presence in this Indo-Pacific region, and to improve free and fair trade in this Indo-Pacific region. We need to get this support from these other countries which are part of this Pacific Ocean. Especially we need help of island nations. So for that, we are going to improve our defense ties with this Fiji. Clear? And now let us see why it is in news. Actually, Fiji Prime Minister, he is on 3-day visit to India. Okay, and we are going to improve our bilateral relationship with this Fiji, and we want to go for increasing of people to people ties also. Okay, I showed you the map, and now let us see the details. And actually the first point they said is they want to improve defense ties. So here these two countries, they finalized comprehensive action plan for deepening of defense cooperation. So whenever we are talking about defense cooperation, there will be nothing but training. So our Indian army related people and this Fiji related people will be getting training, and we and Fiji people, they will do joint exercises in this region. And next one is we want to share the information about the equipment, which equipment is best and which equipment is not good, and how we can improve our strategic cooperation, and especially even defense related exchange, that is nothing but exports and imports also we will be talking about, that is related to your defense and security action plan. And whenever we are talking about security, how can we enhance the security? Whenever there is increased sharing of information. If you're getting any information like which ship is moving in this Pacific Ocean, or whether Chinese ships are there or not, whether any enemy's country's ship is moving in that region or not, we need to get the information. So in security part, they'll focus on data sharing between India and as well as Fiji. And this one is cyber defense and data protection capabilities. And next one is they want to ensure free, open and secure, inclusive Indo-Pacific region. Because in the world, if the trade is happening, around 1/3 of trade, more than 33 to 35% of trade, which happens in this Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean region. So for that, it is very, very important that Indo-Pacific region is free and fair. Actually, the problem in this Indo-Pacific region here is there is increased influence of China. So because of this, it is having threat to international trade. If China is capturing this entire Indian Ocean region and as well as Pacific Ocean region, by controlling this region, by establishing this naval bases, or like actually what this China is doing is, China is going for developmental projects in other countries, and these countries will fall under the debt trap. So recently that happened in the Sri Lanka also. Sri Lanka went into debt trap. So what Sri Lanka did is it given this Hambantota port for this China under lease for 100 years. So in that way, if China is controlling the different ports in this Indo-Pacific region, obviously Chinese dominance in this region will be getting increased. So because of this, we cannot ensure free and fair trade. So to counter this Chinese presence in this Indian Ocean region, especially we need to have the help of other countries which will support India, which are against this China. So for that region, Fiji is very, very helpful for India for maintaining a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific region, so that we can ensure peace, stability and as well as prosperity in this Indian Ocean region. Okay, see this next article. So title says 130th Constitution Amendment Bill will boost morality, says BJP. So this article is talking about 130th Constitutional Amendment Bill. So what is the Constitutional Amendment Bill? So first of all, you have to know about a bill. How many types of bills we have? Ordinary bill, money bill, financial bill and constitutional amendment bill. Okay, so what is the ordinary bill? If you want to make any changes regarding the laws, we will pass this ordinary bill. What about this money bill? Whenever we want to make any changes regarding the income and expenditure of the government, it is called as money bill. And finance bill, it is related to Which article talks about this financial bill? And how many types of financial bill we have? Two types, financial bill A and financial bill B, or type 1 or type 2. So what is this type 1 and type 2? What is the difference? Okay, type 1 is related to nothing but, I will give you a simple example. If you are giving loans to some people, or if you are spending money on your children, you will be getting some return back in the future. That is called as ROI, return on investment. So if any bill which talks about this ROI, return on investment, it is called as type 1. For example, if you had spent money on your children's tour to Maldives or Goa, whatever it may be, can you get any return on that? No. So if a bill talks about no return on investment, that is called as type 2 financial bill. It is as simple as that. And what is this Constitutional Amendment Act? So if you want to amend any articles or any provisions in our constitution, if you are introducing any bill, that is called as Constitutional Amendment Bill. And this article is talking about 130th Constitutional Amendment Bill. So actually this bill which is mainly focusing on removal of ministers if they do any crime. So it is like very powerful bill, so that we can install constitutional morality and even transparency and even public trust. So actually you know that many ministers and many people who are the part of this legislature, they are having criminal cases on them. You know that. But even if we are not able to remove that, that is a problem in our constitution. So because of this, we want to amend certain articles like, so now tell me guys, the articles which are related to our ministers, any articles that you know? Yes, so we are going to amend this article 75 which talks about union level, and 164 talks about state level, and 239 AA which talks about the provisions related to Delhi. And by amending this, what governments want to do is, so government wants to remove ministers if they have any cases and if they are in jail for continuously 30 days, and if they did any crime which is getting punishment of minimum 5 years of imprisonment, now they has to cease to be as a minister. So this is that much powerful bill. So here what happens, so government introduced this bill, but now we are getting strong opposition from this opposition party leaders. So because of this, now it is in news. Okay, clear? Yeah. So now let us see the context. So recently, 30th Constitutional Amendment Bill 2025 was introduced in Lok Sabha, and now it referred to Joint Parliamentary Committee. And after that, here now intense opposition protests are happening from this other party people. Okay. Yeah, now we are going to amend this article 75, 164, 239 AA. And actually this bill which mainly introduced a mechanism to remove ministers who are in jail for serious offences. So according to this bill, it says that minister, if he is arrested and if they are in custody for 30 days continuously for an offence which is punishable with 5 years or more imprisonment, they can lose their position now. So they have to cease to be a minister now if they are staying in jail for 30 days. And this one is, president acting on the advice of chief minister must remove the minister by 31st day of the custody. So at the state level, under these articles which are related to the state legislature, now chief minister will be giving the advice to prime minister, or the advice of this chief minister advice to the president. Now president has to remove minister on this 31st day. And this one is, if no advice is given, the minister will be automatically ceases to hold office. And this bill allows one loophole again in this bill that you can say is, it allows reappointment once a minister is released from the custody. Again, there is a loophole here. By using this loophole, whatever the powers which are there for this amendment, again that will be of waste. Again that thing that can be used by them, and again they will become ministers and they will do all those things like that. Okay, so actually this bill is expected that the ministers accused of serious criminal offences, what happens if you are arresting them and if you are removing them from the office, that will improve constitutional morality, and even we can improve the good governance, and as well as we can improve the public trust, and we can bridge the legal gap between arrest and conviction. So that is the thing which mainly said here. Okay, now let us see the next article. See the title. Stealth frigates Udaygiri, Himagiri to join Navy today. So what is this article talking about? This article is talking about frigates. So actually in your science and technology, you will be studying about this chapter called as defense technology. In that defense, what we'll see, what are the equipments which are present with this army, equipments present with this navy, equipments present with this air force. And this article is talking about one equipment which is present with this navy. Navy means the people who will be guarding on this water, especially they will be guarding our coastline. So if they want to guard this coastline, which equipment they need? They need ships. Yes or no? So in that ships we have different types. The first one is frigates. This is the frigate. And second one is aircraft carrier. And third one is submarines. Normally Navy people will be having this three very important equipments. So first one is frigates. And second one is aircraft carriers. And third one is submarines. So in the submarines we have two types again, diesel submarines and nuclear submarines. Diesel and nuclear submarines. That means the fuel that we use to work that submarines, based on that we have diesel and as well as nuclear. So actually these are like entirely different, and if you see we have some similarities with this. Both are ships only, but this is small and this is large. And normally we'll use these aircraft carriers during the war times, and we can use it normal times for patrolling. For patrolling, the ships that they'll use is frigates. And actually these frigates are small in size and they are large in size, but they have more or less same facilities. So which kind of facilities they have? They can carry equipments, they can carry missiles, they'll be having certain space for this aircraft carriers to place, and even they can use guns like that. So they will be having the same facilities, but the capacity will be less. So here if they are having 10 missiles like that, here they will be having capacity of holding 1 or 2 missiles like that. Only the space constraint will be there, but more or less it will be same. But they will be used in only like warlike situations, and they'll be using for patrolling. And even if the big aircraft is moving on, so before that we need to have the security for that aircraft, right? So for that also we need to have escort service. So for that escort, that is nothing but protection services, we will be using these frigates. Okay, normally any country will be having more frigates compared to that of aircraft carriers, because it will be used regularly for the patrolling and will use for normally for escort services, for protection services. And even if there is any disaster normally in this water like oil spill or anything, we will be using these frigates for this patrolling in that area. Okay, now this article is saying that two frigates, that is Udaygiri, INS Udaygiri and as well as INS Himagiri, they are going to join our navy today. Okay, so from which subject is important? It is important from your GS paper 3 under science and technology case. Okay, so now this article is saying that Indian Navy is set to commission state of the art project. So actually we came up with this project called as Project 17A. So under this Project 17A, India wants to build 7 frigates. So under that, here this Udaygiri is the second frigate and Himagiri is the third frigate. Under this Project 17A, we completed building them and we are going to induct in our navy now. So if you see some facts regarding this INS Udaygiri here, so this project, that is Project 17A, is one of the India's next generation Nilagiri class street frigates, and we want to build around 7 ships under this project, and under this INS Udaygiri is the second frigate. And if you see this technology and the capabilities of this Udaygiri, so it can carry supersonic surface to surface missiles. For example, we can carry BrahMos missiles here. And next one here is we can also carry surface to air missiles. So if you are in water, if you want to target any enemy radar or enemy thing in this air, we can also use the surface to air missile from this frigates. And this one here is we can use like main naval guns here, so that we can deliver quick and lethal strikes against surface or any aerial targets. And this one here is we can also incorporate weapon system which provides automatic response to protect against very close attacks. If any enemy ship is very, very near and if it is targeting us, we can use this close and weapon system. And this one here is, it is also having advanced radars, advanced sensors, sonars, electronic warfare system, so that it can enhance the ability to detect and respond to this enemy activities in advance. So these are the high-end technology that we have in this Udaygiri. And what is the importance here? So we can increase our naval power and we can increase our strategic presence in this Indian Ocean because of this frigate. And next one here is, we can also conduct operations independent in any ocean if you are using this. And next one here is, it will be helpful for India to balance countering of Chinese power in this Indian Ocean region. And if you see about this INS Himagiri, it is the third ship of this project 17A, and it is mainly built by this Garden Research Shipbuilders engineers. Yeah, and actually these two, that is INS Udaygiri and INS Himagiri, so these words are nothing but the earlier which ships that we used to have in our country. So after decommissioning that, we used again the same names for these new ships under this project 17A. So these two are these old names only. Okay, INS Himagiri has been decommissioned in 2005. Udaygiri decommissioned 2006, and we used that old names only for the new class ships or frigates now. Okay, see this article, guys. India-Japan ties, old partners, new priorities. So this article is talking about again India-Japan relations. So where is Japan located? Okay, in Pacific Ocean. Is it an island nation or not? Yes, can anyone tell me the series of islands of this Japan from north to south? Main islands names of this Japan. Hokkaido, Kurishio. Very good. So open your atlas and see important islands, and you have to see from north to south and south to north. I think in 2021 UPSC gave question on that in prelims. Arrange these islands of Japan from north to south. So here you have to see even map. So now you guys tell me, do we have good relations with this Japan or not? Is that a friendly nation or enemy nation to India? Enemy nation, huh? Friendly nation. So which kind of cooperation that you are getting from this Japan? So how Japan is helpful for India? Technology. Which kind of technology you are getting from this Japan? Electronics, okay. Semiconductors. And do you know this bullet train project? Yes, entirely that project is funded by Japan, but it had been stalled because of this environment clearance in India. And next, are this India, Japan or the part of any other groupings? Only Quad? In United Nations Security Council, how many members are there? 15 members, right? So we have 5 permanent members and we have 10 non-permanent or temporary members. So actually, why India is fighting in this United Nations Security Council and fighting for what? For permanent members. Is only India is fighting or other countries are fighting? Other countries are fighting. Which are those other countries? India, Japan, Brazil and Germany. So these are called as G4 groupings. And here also Japan is there. And even that is a question in GS paper 2 mains this year about what are the reforms in this United Nations Security Council and what is the role of India. That is about indirectly asking about this G4 grouping. So here also, will Japan encourages India for fighting against this permanent membership in UNSC? Yes, apart from that, any areas where India and Japan are both members of G20? Yes. Next. Okay, now tell me, if you are having good relations with Japan, how India will be getting benefited? In which areas? So who is the common enemy of India and Japan? Yes, China. Why? China is having dispute with Japan. Regarding what? So India and China is having dispute because of this border. Okay, because of artificial islands in the South China Sea, there is dispute between China and Japan. So because of this, the common contention between these two countries is to counter this China. So if we are both together, we can improve our defense ties and we can counter our enemy, that is China. And next one is, Japan is a developed country or not? Yes. So can we expect any technology from this Japan? Yes, we can also get this technology. So here this article is saying that we are old partners, but we are coming up with new priorities now. Okay, and even which kind of disasters is Japan is famous for? Tsunamis and earthquakes. So actually that kind of things which are also happening in India, right? Nowadays there is increased earthquakes, increased landslides, increased flood related things, increased floods, and even Japan is also having issue of cyclones. Even India is also frequently affected with these cyclones. Can we learn any best practices from the Japan regarding controlling of earthquakes and cyclone related things? Yes, we can also share the best practices so that it will be helpful for overall benefit of the society at large. So now let us see here, this article is saying that we are coming up with new priorities now. So here let us see what are those new priorities between India and Japan. So actually, India and Japan, they have maintained a robust, special strategic and global partnership since 2014 onwards. So actually, diplomatically, relationship started between India and Japan in year 1952, and from 2014 onwards, after this Modi came into power, there is enhancement of relationship with different countries. So in that one country is Japan. So this partnership has significant momentum in 2025, and actually in 2025 we are coming up with long-term memorandum of understandings with this Japan. So here we are focusing on high-level engagement and visit. So we are going to have this 11th rounds of India-Japan talks. And actually in this dialogue we are focusing on cooperation in hydrogen, ammonia, carbon capture, utilization and storage. Actually there is question regarding this CCUS in your GS paper in this year means. So CCUS is nothing but carbon capture, utilization and storage. So as you all know that there is increased carbon dioxide emissions in our atmosphere because of climate change, because of using of extensive vehicles, industrialization, whatever it may be. So we need this technology to capture the carbon which is present in our atmosphere, and how we are storing that and how we are utilizing it. Okay, on that we have a questionnaire mains, that is CCUS technology, and we are going to have a dialogue and cooperation with this Japan in this CCUS now, and we are focusing on renewable energies and as well as biofuels so that we can ensure sustainable energy systems in our Indo-Pacific region. The first thing. And second thing here is we are going to have good trade, good economy, and as well as investments between India and Japan. So actually Japan announced that we are going to invest around 10 trillion and approximately around $68 billion investment in India, especially in the next 10 years. So in which areas they want to focus on? They want to focus on improving of infrastructure, manufacturing, clean energy, technology, semiconductors, critical minerals, pharmaceuticals, and as well as in artificial intelligence areas. And this one is we are focusing on improving of collaborations, especially in the critical technologies like semiconductors. On the semiconductors also there is a question in your mains. Recently we discussed one article that we are going to launch 4 semiconductor plants in which states? Punjab, Bangladesh, AP, Odisha and Punjab. We want to come up with the 4 plans. So regarding that, the question came. So again, we need to get cooperation technology from other countries, especially developed countries, to make it success. Okay, so for that also we are going to have this agreement with this Japan, and this one is regarding AI, and even we are focusing on Asia Africa Growth Corridor. And in this corridor, especially these 2 countries are focusing on health, agriculture and connectivity in this Africa region. And this one here is Japan will be also helpful for supporting of our India's Northeast development projects. Especially we want to focus on Act East policy, and as well as we want to focus on Northeast road network connectivity improvement, and we want to improve people to people ties in this region, and we want to focus on academic participation and partnerships, and we also going to come up with initiatives. Actually, what is the problem which is faced by this Japan? In Japan the problem is there is completely declining of this TFR, and even in some areas there is negative TFR in this Japan. So because of this, younger generation is very less. There is increased old age population in this Japan. So because of increasing of old age population, what happened? So these old age population will contribute for the economy of Japan? No. Will these people work as young people do work? No. So because of this, now what Japan is doing is Japan came up with a scheme and it is attracting around 55,000 skilled Indian professionals, because there is no person or there is nothing much like how Indian demographic dividend is there. So they are having the problem of lack of demographic dividend. So because of this, Japan can provide an environment of attracting Indian skilled workers, so that Indians can go there and they can work and they can earn money. And our Indians will become the future prospects of this Japan. Okay, so in that way they are attracting Indians to address this problem of aging population in Japan. Okay, clear? So these are the important topics that happened in our today's in the newspaper. By this I'm concluding. Thank you so much guys for watching, and if you really like this class, please do hit the like button, please do share this class to your friends, and do subscribe to Rathod Science Academy, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram, where we are providing daily one prelims based question along with answer, and mains question with model answer, and also current affairs in short, and even we are also posting important days. And please follow us on this YouTube also, where we are going to provide the direct model answers for your mains questions guys soon. Thank you so much.